Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
How you doing?
I'm well. I'm good. Getting shit done.
Knocking your mic about?
Yes, getting stuff out of the way, making preparations for being laid up for a long time.
You're going under the knife.
Big time, yeah. I've got that surgery coming up on my shoulder, and they're going to do all kinds of shit to it. And I, cleaning it up, putting in anchors, fixing my rotator cuff and shit, it sounds fucking horrible.
Well, I'm super excited about it, which sounds weird. But one of the reasons I'm excited about it is...
Some guinea pig shit here.
Yeah, because it's been a long time since we've talked about it on the show. My audio sounds weird. Does it sound weird in your ears?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. Maybe it's just my headphones. Yeah, so I'm really excited about you getting the surgery done because I really want to subject you to my PBC 157, which, if you guys don't remember, I talked in pretty great detail in a couple of episodes about it. But it's this peptide that you can get, and you literally inject it into an area, and it goes and it heals and fixes ligaments and tendons. And I had fucking serious tennis elbow for...
So far, everybody that's tried this stuff has reported wonderful, positive
just
results.
Last week, one of the guys I train with, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he wants to admit to doing a completely legal drug. This stuff is completely legal. It's not a steroid. It's just that it's not approved for human consumption. So that sounds a little ominous. But I hooked him up the other day, and it was Friday actually. I went up and hooked him up, and I got a hold of him on Saturday, and I said, "Hey man, I know it's only been one day, but how's your arm?" And he said, "Dude, 25% better." And he's gone 2 years with this injury with no improvements. And I'm like, man, I'm so excited about it. But and I would have shot you up with it long ago, but it gets a little bit scary if you have some kind of you don't want to repair something that's not put back together, So I think your recovery is going to be fucking sweet. So when do you when do you go under the knife?
Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Thursday, my son's taking the day off of work and stuff, so he's gonna drive me and shit because they won't let me drive. Actually, I'm not supposed to drive for 3 weeks afterwards.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Fuck yeah! What am I can't drive. I mean, I'm gonna be. That's gonna be weird.
But the Rossi pretty much drives itself, right?
Pretty much. So, yeah.
No big deal.
Shit on autopilot. But yeah, I might have to either get a ride or we might have to do a podcast from my bat cave.
Yeah, that would be cool. We could show everybody all the shit that.
Or we could do another one on location or something. We haven't done that forever.
Yeah.
Has it been forever? It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been COVID. I mean, what are we?
Yeah. Right. We're here.
I mean, we went down to 9th Street a few times by ourselves when it was closed down, but that's about it. Yeah, well, I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's kind of a bummer. I know you were supposed to do it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, but it's kind of a big deal. And, and shit keeps getting in the way, like stuff that I had scheduled. Our annual Farm to Fork,
right.
I couldn't pass that up. I look forward to that all year. And Christina was super looking forward to it, and
it was a blast.
Yes, we had a great time.
It was a blast, and thankfully this time, no alcohol poisoning, no concussion.
Yeah, because they kind of fucked us on the drinks.
It was super fun though. But yeah, last year when we went to the Farm to Fork, it was a 5-course meal, and they did a cocktail, a wine, and a beer pairing with every course.
And my wife doesn't drink, so I got all of hers too. So every course I got 6 drinks. That was,
everybody was joking about last year. All of the Jenna and Scott, who is the sommelier, Subiya, something like that. The guy who pours wine.
Somalian, I think.
Somalian. He's the Somalian. Everybody was joking about how they were going to try not to kill anybody this year.
Farm to fork to floor.
Farm to fork to floor. It was really fun though because we recorded all of the audio. We Meta just put her phone out on the table and recorded the audio. And I don't think you guys. I know that Kyle has some funny zingers when we're doing the podcast, but I don't think you guys can appreciate how truly fucking hilarious he is unless you have dinner with him.
It's true. It's true.
He said some funny shit. I was just listening to the audio, and there's just some fucking hilarious stuff.
Well, that's because half of it is not even like intentional.
Well, that's when you're so funny. Like there's there's one time when he picks up a tomato and it's on his fork and he's looking at it and he says, what is this I'm eating? and everyone says it's a tomato, and it's so fucking funny.
It was like smashed, so it kind of looked like a pepper or something. And at this, like, there's a lot of sneaky food here that's not really part of my diet, like the fake mashed potatoes.
Well, you ate them all.
And yeah, of course. Like I ate everything that was put in front of me.
Good
That's
try, mashed
kind
potatoes.
of what I do. Nice try, fake mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Very fun.
Yeah, good time. Good time.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we've been able to get together. The last time was with my sister Shelly, which was almost
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Almost 3 weeks ago, yeah.
Man.
And it is what it is. Life's busy, whatever. But if you guys have been following, on Facebook or whatever, obviously, I couldn't go that long without doing something. So I've been putting out a couple of episodes that are going to be just like a supplemental to spitballing. So under the umbrella of spitballing, maybe one of these days we'll have like a whole podcast network.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I'm calling it crazy shit that Matt does, and it's just kind of a fun little projects that I decide to do on a whim. Yeah. So the first,
and it's aptly named because it is just about his like crazy, like the stuff that people might think about doing, but people just usually pass on that stuff. Like, what would that be like? And then you're on to the next thing. Matt latches onto that shit.
Yeah.
He runs with it.
Yeah. I have an obsessive mind. I like get an idea and then I'll sometimes think about it for years and years and then never, and then finally I decide I'm going to do it and then I just pull the trigger. But the first episode I did, so a long time ago, like a decade ago, because Peyton was pretty young because he could ride these things. I was at, I don't even know how long, because it was right after Costco opened up. So was that 10 years ago, 8, 9, 10 years ago? Mm-hmm. Right in that area. And they were selling these little things. They were like jet skis. They were like blow-up jet skis, and they were like $40. Actually, Jared McKinney turned me on to him. He had a post on Facebook with his kids riding around on them, and I was like, holy fuck, those things are cool. And they were pretty cheap, $30, $40. So I ended up buying a couple of them, 3 of them actually. So Peyton and a couple of his friends could go zoom around, and they were cool as shit. I mean, they weren't super powered or anything like that, but they were cool. But the blow-up thing, because it was like a blow-up jet ski, those all disintegrated. Yeah. I mean, they don't last very long. But I held on to the little motor. It has like a little steering wheel and a little motor. I'm going to show you guys a clip from it. So what I decided to do, because they're inside of that, there's 8 D batteries, which turns out to be basically a 12-volt battery. And I decided to augment it and snap in an 18-volt Ryobi battery into it, so it'd have a little bit more juice, and then like shove it through my kayak and try it out. So I'm gonna play just the end, a little end of this episode 1 clip, because Kyle has yet to see it. He's seen episode 2, but I'm just gonna play this little clip. It's kind of funny. So you'll be seeing the same thing we're seeing. So I'm pulling up in the Land Rover here. By the way, I've gone on a diet since this video. I'm looking at myself in a wetsuit right now. All right, you ready to try this out? Let's see how it works. All right, so we're not really talking about the top speed I was looking for, but it's Definitely able to push you around. Probably be better than paddling.
Oh, for sure. Even with your hands. This is the way.
I think I'm going to try to figure out a way to put a bigger propeller on this thing. Well, I would say this is underwhelming.
Holy shit.
Watch this. I think I can hand paddle faster. All right, I don't want to ruin the end. I am able to get a little bit of more juice out of it. Essentially, what I fucked it up. They're kids' toys. They're not really supposed to be 18 volts. So I just the first one I just ground the gears out of. So that's what that was. When I did the replacement, I got a little bit more juice out of it. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, so you should check it out. It's just on the regular spitballing stream. These are video only. They would not be interesting audio because they're projects. But you might learn how to, I don't know, endanger children. So it'll be great. It'll be great. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I have an idea. I think I don't know if it's going to be the next, but one of the projects a long time ago, Peyton and I were doing a video project together called he called it Survive and Thrive. And the idea was taking place during the apocalypse. So basically what we're experiencing right now. And but we were kind of doing it in the zombie apocalypse, and the whole shtick was that he was this kid who finds himself trying to survive in the zombie apocalypse, and he needs to come up with ways to do that, and he's almost out of ammo for his gun, so he makes a crossbow, and it's pretty long and in depth instructional video on how to make this crossbow, and I think I'm gonna do a more abbreviated, there was he really wanted to he basically wanted to remake fucking The Walking Dead. He wanted it to be all dramatic and have all these little, I'll just show you. I just think I'm going to show you guys how to do to make this reverse draw crossbow, because that fucking thing was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was about 40 pounds, and he did it. We did it, to be unfair. I mean, he did it, but we used in that case we used fiberglass fence posts, and yeah, I'll actually, when I do it, I'll put some clips from when Peyton and I did it, and then I'll show you the updated version, because I think I have a little bit different idea of how to do it. So yeah, fun. So check that out. All right, what do you got on your list?
Oh man, yeah, just some local news stuff. Well,
Yeah.
not necessarily local.
There is some fucking local news shit going on. My God.
So, in our neighboring state, Wisconsin.
Well, that's not so local.
Yeah. There's a town called Kenosha. It's a town of about 100,000 people. And it's right between. It's basically right between Chicago and Milwaukee. Now the town is kind of, it's kind of economically depressed. They do have a big, Amazon distribution center there. It's the big employer. They used to have a huge Chrysler plant back in the day, but that closed up during the Reagan era. Surprise, surprise, just like my hometown. So it's been all over the news, unless you've been living under a fucking rock. You've heard about this guy.
I kind of been living under a rock. I did hear about it, but I didn't watch the video, and I kind of.
Well, Jacob Blake was this guy's name. He moved up here. He moved up to Wisconsin from North Carolina. His dad was a preacher, a civil rights activist, and Jacob himself was really active in volunteer work for the homeless and vets, and all kinds of stuff. But he was also had a criminal record, which people keep bringing up. And there was, he was accused of there was something weird that I read. So he was accused of raping this woman, and assaulting her, and and he was like leaving in her car with her wallet or her credit card or whatever the shit, and she called the cops on him. Now, when I was reading this, and they were talking about like he had history with this woman, and like apparently he'd assaulted her before, and when they asked her about it, she said, like, they were like, so he's assaulted you before, and she was like, yeah, about twice a year over the last 8 years, and I'm like I'm not trying to blame the victim here, you got to be careful with that shit. But like, so it sounds weird.
They had a shitty relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody, so, but that's like what everybody, the only reason that is important is because that's what everybody's like, seems to be latching on to, when they talk about, big deal. He deserved it. Whatever. He got shot in the back 7 times. Now there's other things, like apparently they thought he had a weapon in his car or whatever, because he was not complying. He was not listening.
Right.
He'd been breaking up a fight between 2 women.
And just a word of advice.
Yeah, bad idea.
Okay, it's just like if dogs are going at it, man, you don't want to get in between that. Just let it go. Just let it go. Don't ever break up.
It's not like dudes fighting, because women are always trying to kill each other, and if they get into a fight, you're better if you want to break up a fight. If you want to end a fight between 2 women, just throw a knife in there.
Yeah, or like spray them with really cold water. That's what you do with horses if they're fucking and they get stuck together. It's so true.
I've seen that done with dogs before when they get locked up.
Well, so what happens with horses sometimes is they'll be doing it, and then they'll fall. The stallion will fall off, and they get their penis gets stuck in the heart, and they'll both die if you don't do something about it. And so what they do is they spray them with really cold water. So just a little fun fact, little farm fun fact for you guys. But if you you could try that.
Women don't have penises. That fucking ruins that whole thing right there.
Whoops.
At least some of them don't.
Most of them.
And we're liberals, so some of them
do. We can't admit that there's a difference between men and women. That's right, I forgot.
Yeah, we're still cataloging genders. So anyway, yeah, like this dude, he got shot in the back 7 times.
Now, and I really haven't paid much attention, but he was like going into his car. He was non-complying, and he was going into his car at the time.
Yeah, like the cop was like hanging on to like his back of his shirt or whatever, and the guy's like, "No, fuck you, I'm leaving." And he, so he wasn't complying. At the same time, I don't know how I feel about like being shot in the back because you're not doing what you're told. I could have been shot many, many times over. And not that I have a history of like resisting arrest or anything. Usually, not that I have never, but so this guy, and we've been, this one is like from the very beginning, I was kind of conflicted about this one because, some shit is cut and dried. And of course, that because of the whole us versus them mentality that seems to be so pervasive, you can't like talk about, like this is fucked up, like this cop did a bad thing without every, without everybody like coming to, his defense and shit and making it about like all cops, which, I'm not in favor of. Now this, I don't like, did he need to be shot in the back 7 times? Ugh, it's tough to make that fucking case. And then of course people always go with, well, you don't know what it's like, it's not you that has to deal with these people. You know what? Honestly, like, if you think that I haven't had to deal with fucking people that were like super crazy and super high and shit, like, you don't know my resume very well. Because over the last fucking 30 years or whatever, like I haven't had to deal with these people. I've had to deal with these people. I've tried to talk these people down. I've had to fight these people. I've had sex with a lot of these people in a lot of instances. But so I don't really love that whole argument either. No, it's not the most. It's not the most heinous case that I've ever seen. You know, because there have been so many heinous cases.
Yeah,
But
and I have quite a bit that I want to say on that particular topic, but I want to come back around to it. So let's talk about this, and then we have some local stuff, and then I just want to put a pin in this, that I am going to come back and revisit the idea of resisting arrest and the consequences. But continue.
So yeah, that whole deal. Yeah, that's fucked up. Okay, shot in the back 7 times. You know, I just, like I said, not the worst example, but a pretty bad example.
Also, a really badly timed example.
Yes.
Right? Like, if this shit were to have happened at another time, it maybe would not have sparked off this protest. Because
then these riots started.
Everything is so incredibly hypersensitive right now after the George Floyd incident killing, then everybody, bam, sparks off these riots.
Yeah, I mean, in Kenosha's police department, Kenosha's 65% white. Their police department is 90% white. 10% of the Kenosha's population is black. 3% of the police force is black. There's like 207 cops. 207, 209. Yeah, just under 210 cops. And yeah, so the riots, people started rioting in Kenosha, and and of course there was plenty. Like, it's hard to have a nice tidy riot. You can't protest without like a riot breaking out, basically, and shit gets understandably shit gets fucked up. Some of the stuff is understandable, some of the shit is not. I can't support some of those behaviors, but I understand,
Yeah.
So then, of course, Kyle Rittenhouse gets his fucking 15 minutes. He is a 17-year-old kid from Illinois who was there basically, he was basically a fucking, little bootlicker cop wannabe. And a wannabe. Like, guys like this. You go to high school with guys like this. This kid, like, obviously, like, he dropped out of school. So basically, like, his window for being a school shooter had closed. So this was like the next best thing. So you all know about that. Everybody's heard about that. And people like right away start making up shit to come to his defense. Like, if you want to defend the kid, let's just say that he wasn't fucking quite well, and shit got crazy, and he was a teenager and was not able to handle
Some of the stuff about it that really bothered me was not really the actions of the kid, though obviously very, horrible, but it was just the, like, kind of blatant, seemingly like permission from the police for that to happen.
that as well. Yeah.
That was the part that made my stomach really turn about it, was that, like, there's the whole idea that after he has murdered this guy and he walks right toward the police carrying an assault rifle, and with his hands up, and they just let him pass through, and that part is really grody.
Well, after he shot those, like, now everybody's like, oh, he was just defending himself. Okay, the first guy the first person he shot in the back.
Right.
All right, like, so again, it's tough to make that. It's tough to claim self-defense. Like, also, when you're there, when you show up, you come from another state and show up there, and you with a fucking rifle, with a borrowed rifle.
So, let's just think about the self-defense law for a second. Like, I have a permit to carry, and I don't carry very often. And I am again going to talk a little bit about how a gun changes situations, but when the first gun I ever bought was that I ever owned was a Taurus 357, hammerless, And Tharg actually was the one who really helped me choose the gun, and it made a lot of sense. It was a huge caliber gun, big boom boom, but also it was incredibly hard to fire without intention. Right? It had like a 400-pound trigger pull, right? And it had no hammer. So if I wanted to shoot somebody, I had to you had to yank the trigger to fire it. And I wasn't very experienced at the time with guns. And what Tharg was telling me was, he was like, if you get a gun that has a hammer and you cock your hammer back, you've already showed intention, right? So that lessens your it makes your case for self-defense already less, because you've cocked the weapon. All right, and that's the truth. Just the act of cocking the weapon is an indication of premeditation. So this motherfucker showed up with an assault rifle to a riot. That's my point. It's the equivalent of cocking the revolver. You're putting yourself in a position where the threat of violence is very likely. So when the threat of violence, or when violence happens, it's hard to be like, well, that was self-defense.
Yeah. And the sword itself incites to violence. Homer said that, and it's legit,
Homer Simpson?
The other Homer. Oh. But
Homer Johnson?
So yeah, that kid, that whole deal, and everybody's still arguing about that shit on Facebook, and well, the people that he killed, it was this guy was, people, apparently they were guilty of shit, that does not mean that you just gun them down on the fucking street. All right. Now, was it ill-advised to try to chase the kid down and disarm him and shit? Like after he'd already shot one of your fellow protesters in the back? It's probably a bad idea, especially if you're going to, attack him with your skateboard. Mm-hmm. Anyone out there, if I need to tell you that your skateboard, versus an AR, you're going to be on that's just a fucking bad idea. So yeah, everybody's arguing about that. Treating the kid like he's a hero.
There's a T-shirt in this. I swear to God, it's just like a protester to bring a skateboard to a gunfight.
Oh, I've seen that.
That exists already?
Oh, yeah.
Damn it, because that was I thought I came up with that originally. Shit.
All kinds of shit. And this kid, is he a cold-blooded murderer? I don't think so, but I don't think that means that he's innocent either, and the fucking people that and the people that he shot, I don't know, because they have basically, you can't just kill someone because they've been accused of or even convicted of a crime, that you don't know about,
yeah.
I've got a lot of fucking friends that have done time, Please don't kill my friends,
Right.
Fucking, it's not, that's not up to you. That fucking whole argument is pretty stupid, really. And then people are treating this kid like a hero. This kid had video on his own, that he posted himself on social media of him, punching this fucking girl and shit. That, this girl got an altercation, and he comes running up behind her and just starts fucking throwing haymakers and shit, and then squares up with her, like he's ready to fight, like he's ready to throw down and stuff.
He should have had water.
And this guy is, basically, he's 17 now, so it's going to be 20 years before, we see him running for, getting the GOP nomination, running for fucking president. But yeah, he's not a fucking hero, I mean, granted, George Floyd wasn't a fucking hero either,
Right.
So people are really, putting some fucking, these are fucking not heroes. They're not, not fucking martyrs. People
So-
are fucking reaching and saying some stupid shit about all
So
these people.
it would be fair to say that you're seeing a lot of spin on both sides.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, good. I'm glad you say that because that's actually what I want to kind of like talk about. But again, I want to come back to it.
Sure. But that, that story is still unfolding. If we get together within the next couple of weeks before it fucking disappears, we can talk more about that. We've lots of race stuff, lots of police brutality shit coming up. We've tried to get a couple of guests on. We're still trying to get Clinton on. And in Clinton, I want you to come on and talk about race, ethnicity, and oppression. Because if you wait too long, it's going to be over.
Yeah.
It won't even be a thing anymore. So
Right. Yeah. Don't miss your chance. You talk to the camera like he fucking watches this thing.
No, not a fucking chance. Yeah. Does he watch this? Motherfucker doesn't even take my calls.
Right.
No, he doesn't watch this.
Right. So the opinion of police is probably never been lower. I don't think.
And then unfortunately for them, the people that are rallying behind them the hardest are like the worst fucking people, like at least the worst spoken people
Right.
that have ever fucking existed either, because like if you want someone advocating for you, it's probably not the fucking guy with the 9th grade education that fucking, writes in all caps, uses no punctuation, can't spell shit, and isn't a real big critical thinker. And these people are just fucking screaming down anybody that, and it's unfortunate. We wind up in a position, like a lot of things we talk about make it sound like we're like anti-law enforcement, but we're fucking not.
Not a bit.
Not a bit, yeah. Lots of friends that are cops. And something that I always get back to, like, you're not going to find a cop out there, at least none of the cops that I know, that are going to tell you, no, we couldn't do things any better.
Oh, for sure.
If you ever run across anybody that tells you that they couldn't do things any better, that person's full of shit. That person has zero credibility. And things can be better. Things can be done better. Shit doesn't have to be the way it is right now. Improvements can be made.
So in my journey of doing crazy shit that Matt does, I was looking for some trolling motors, and I put a post out on Facebook, and I asked if anybody had any old shitty trolling motors that didn't work, maybe laying around, and I got a big response. So thanks to all you guys that came up with trolling motors. But one of them was my good buddy Josh Carter, who spent 20 some odd years as a police officer, and is now retired, and is an amazing welder, and he teaches at Central Lakes College at the welding course. Now, when I say he was a police officer, that doesn't even really cover it. He's also been in the service. He served as a sniper team. He was he was a tactical. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He's an amazing guy, and I got the chance to go out
kind of a life of service and badassery.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it. And I was able to go out and pick up that trolling motor from him, and 4 hours later, I left his place because it was great. I mean, we talked and talked and talked.
And I always had he and I always had great conversations, and sometimes some really serious, in-depth conversations.
He has some fucking incredible stories.
And I don't think I've seen him since my wedding. And I barely got to talk to him then.
Actually, last time I talked to him was your wedding. And I talked to him for like 2 hours, and I thought the girl that he was with, I thought she was like literally going to kill me. Because she was bored out of her fucking skull. We were geeking out about blacksmithing.
We need to have him on and we need to have beers with him. Maybe combine those.
A, B, and C. Yeah, but we talked about him coming on the podcast, and he would love to come on the podcast. He would love to talk about some of the dysfunction of his experience in policing and some stuff like that. But it was a really interesting conversation. Why the fuck did I bring that up? Other than the fact that I love Josh and want him to come on the podcast.
Trolling motors.
I guess maybe I just wanted to say that we were saying the cop that we don't dislike cops. And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, Josh is a guy that I like really respect and admire. And
My buddy Zach, he's been a cop. I mean, like basically like lifelong friend. Love this fucking
I know
guy.
what,
He's like a brother.
what you said though. You said you can't find a cop that won't say we can't do anything better.
Yeah.
And that is really kind of what my takeaway with having that conversation with Josh was about, was that he was like, yeah, there's definitely room for improvement, but also that we have this, that there's this opinion now that all cops are fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah, I saw all cops
not.
are bastards is apparently like a thing, and I'm like, wow, fuck you! Don't say that shit around me. I'll slap your face. You know, I don't fucking believe that shit. That's garbage.
But that's kind of the problem, is that we are that everything is getting spun.
Yeah.
But locally, something interesting just happened.
Yes.
And it kind of was an interesting thing because I felt like it kind of put cops in our local police force in quite a good light. Because I just gotta say, these motherfuckers showed some restraint.
Yeah.
Because I would have beat that fucking dick with his dick. I would have ripped it off and I would have beat him with it.
So this video came out, and now it's got, surprise, surprise, gone national.
It's gone viral.
And
That's really like should become the like motto of the Brainerd Lakes area, is like stupid shit gone viral, because it's all that happens over and over again.
Yeah, and I mean, every time, like when we talk about it, every time something happens that we get national attention for, here in the BLA.
Now, Sam Gibbons would remind us that only bad news goes national. I would have to argue with him that no town of our size should be in the national news for stupid shit this fucking
We're
often.
like a tiny Florida. You always see like Florida Man, and now that Florida Man is a thing, But here in the Brainerd Lakes area, like we're like a little like a tribe of lost Floridians. And you know what they have in common? And I don't, like you've already tuned out if you're fucking sensitive to this sort of thing, like probably in episode 1, first 5 minutes. But what these people always have in common, the embarrassingly fucking stupid people, the holy shit, I can't believe that, check out this video of this guy in Brainerd, Minnesota. What those people always have in common, they're conservatives.
Oh, I was fucking 100% sure you're going to say their parents were related, but I would have lost money on
those
that
things. Go hand in hand. But so, and I'm not telling you to, I'm not telling you what to do.
In this particular case, I feel like this guy's all over the place. So let's just explain what we're talking about. So the mayor of Nisswa,
yes,
and his name is what?
Fred Heidemann.
Fred Heidemann, yes, mayor of Nisswa, tries to intervene during a traffic stop.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've seen Fred around. I do not know Fred. I know some of his family, and they're fucking wonderful. They're amazing.
I feel like he may, and I mean, I'm venturing a guess here, but I feel like he might be a little bit unstable because, well, this video certainly doesn't put him in good light. But then
he's got a history of.
I went down a rabbit hole, if you will. So we're gonna play this video. I won't be able to show it to you, but I can play the audio. Apparently, maybe under the fair use law.
So he comes across. This is close to his business. He comes upon a Nisswa officer who has pulled some kids over. It's one of like a safe and sober weekend or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Where they're like pulling everybody over for like all kinds of little shit. It just happens. And
they of course had tinted windows,
and
which is kind of a bullshit reason to pull somebody over. But
they're searching the car and stuff.
They're definitely not. There's at no time, and we haven't heard anything. Like nobody's heard anything from the people who actually got pulled over. But apparently, there was no they didn't get arrested.
No.
They got like a little citation. They got a little weed in the car.
Yeah.
They were let go, and
they were all in the car. It's not like nobody was getting their ass kicked or anything.
And
like
they took
that.
some cool pictures and posted them on their Snapchat, which I also thought was pretty funny.
But so the Nisswa officer, I know him.
Yeah.
I
don't know either of the guys.
I used to work closely. He worked
of course,
for Lakeshore.
Lakeshore, yeah.
And then a Pequot because there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah.
The Pequot officer showed up, a guy that I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
He's
And
actually,
apparently just pulls up on the scene, and
Yeah.
when he gets what's not
both of
assaulted.
these guys are good guys. I've known them both for a while, especially the one who's married to one of my homegirls, yeah, these are good dudes. These are not like some fucking toy punks trying to throw their fucking weight around. These are just two dudes doing their jobs.
Right.
And then
and they're
Fred
both
shows
small town cops too, which there's definitely a difference between. I mean, I don't know, but they're small town cops. They're community cops. They are not. They know the people in their community. It's pretty.
Yeah, I feel like you have an advantage when you're a small town cop because these are, these are the. I'm sure there's disadvantages too, but I mean, like these are your friends and neighbors. Like these fucking people.
Right.
Like there's no, like you're less likely to get into some weird shit.
But I'm telling you, I would not have been able to control myself the way that this. I mean, kudos to this officer for not just going straight to the baton.
Right on.
Okay, so let's play this here. And we'll probably talk over it, but here's the audio.
Just stand back over there.
What are you guys doing?
We're stopping cars.
For what?
I don't know why we were stopping him, but he was the one that I just got here. Okay.
You guys are emptying his fucking car out on the road.
Okay.
What the hell are you guys up to?
Just go stand back over there.
Don't you guys have something better to do, like patrol the goddamn street?
Go stand back over there.
You know what?
This isn't safe for you.
I'm the mayor of this fucking town, and you guys get the hell off the highway out here.
Talk to our TZD coordinator if you don't like what we're doing. This is what we're doing tonight, okay?
Fuck you guys.
All right.
Just
You're
go
a bunch of fucking dinks.
Just go stand back over there.
Fucking dinks.
Go stand back over there.
Go do your jobs. You're not drug people. You're not even qualified to be pulling people over for this shit.
Okay, well you didn't even know that, so go stand back over there. You can videotape all you want. Just go stand back over where it's safe, okay?
You're not in a safe area.
He's really close to the road, and he's got his dog on a leash.
Yeah.
And now your dog's loose.
People are zooming by, and then his dog got away.
If you guys wouldn't be pulling people over, I wouldn't be out here. You guys are a fucking disgrace. You'd think up in this area we'd have some decent fucking cops. You're as bad as the fucking dinks down in Minneapolis.
All right,
whatever you say.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
So that's the body cam video, and then the asshole goes back to his place. Hasn't had enough. Comes driving up with his truck, gets out and starts trying to interview the fucking kids in the car while the cops are still there. Is asked to leave, and he fucking refuses, and they end up arresting him. And there's a really great picture of him being smooshed up against the car window.
But no, they didn't take him in. They just cited him and released him. He got to drive away in his own
arrested
car.
him.
But was it an actual arrest?
Well, it says that they brought him into custody, but they couldn't bring him. Wow, what does it actually say? Maybe we should try to get this right. Well, this is the wrong article because this is the updated one. But yeah, okay, we're spitballing here. What I think happened is they did arrest him. They did put him in cuffs. They put him because of COVID, they couldn't bring him into jail.
Gotcha.
So they released him on his own recognizance. Is that how you say the word? Recognizance? Yeah. Something like that. But so it was kind of a catch and release thing. But also it was kind of he was charged. So it wasn't. They didn't just slap him on the wrist and let him go. They did charge him for.
And now he's been censured.
And
they've asked for his resignation. There's another acting mayor and shit.
So I did. So then I was reading.
What a fucking tool.
I was reading the article about that. There's just an update that the Nisswa City Council censured him, and they said it just something briefly in the article about how he had already been reprimanded for racist comments before, and I was like, "What the fuck is that about?" So I did some googling. Do you know anything about this?
Yep, I know exactly where you're going with this.
From what
birds of a feather fly together.
Oh God, I like that. I like that phrase. Birds of a feather. Anyway, so I was like, "What the fuck is this guy's take?" He obviously is anti-cop. So to me, that puts him kind of in the camp of people who are like over the top on the whole
I think he's just an asshole.
I think that might be it.
But I mean, as far as his politics go, he's clearly
So-
a right winger.
Well, that was what I was like. But then if he was a right winger, I would think he would have been out there like going like, you know. So I was very confused. But then I did some research. And really, in June he got in trouble essentially for some Facebook comments that he made, and he was making them in reference to one of our good old friends, Ms. Hall, who was the teacher that was saying all the despicable shit about how, you know, basically
she was saying a bunch of racist shit
super
about
racist shit about
scary criminal black people.
Yep.
Blacks, not black people.
And
Blacks.
she did use really weird grammar.
Not on one occasion.
Yeah,
but
it was horrible. It's just,
but multiple occasions.
Obviously, bitch was up all night, fucking, you know, like she's wasted, drunk, and just on Facebook going fucking. And I just say in vino veritas, like that is not an excuse, man. If you're,
Yeah.
I mean, it may be an excuse for putting an S on the end of the word black, but it's not an excuse for any of the crazy ass shit that you said. So he put on his Facebook Sunday. I'll just read this. So he was responding to an Echo Journal. I believe with all of my being that what happened to George Floyd is inexcusable. Those officers need to face the consequences to the full extent of the law. But when one side can say anything they want and get praised for it, and the opposite side is chastised for everything they say, then that becomes communism. I don't really disagree with that statement. I think that it is.
Motherfucker.
Do you not turn the phone off? I think that's actually not a too bad of a statement. I mean, he's saying that like we want to hear both sides.
But what does that have to do with communism, though? It's he's obviously not a fucking super like. This guy's not a smart guy. I mean,
I'm not going to deny that, but I don't disagree mostly with what he said there. And if he'd have just stopped there, it'd have been fine. But he didn't. In a subsequent comment, Heidemann stated, I do not see that her words were hateful or vulgar. Oh, shit, I got to turn that thing on. What is harmful is teaching our children that Islam is good, Christianity is bad, there's a God of the Bible, there's no God of the Bible, science knows everything, America is bad, Cuba is good, etc. Okay, you're a fucking idiot. That's all it pretty much boils down to.
So basically, this dude is like on record as being kind of a bigot. You know, he's fucking he's anti-immigration. He's fucking racist. He's goddamn. I think there was some homophobic shit in there too. Like I did a little research as well, and I'm like, oh fuck. And then, but the fact that he got in trouble with the cops, like people were like, no, he's a liberal. He's a liberal. And I'm like,
that was my assumption.
Where the fuck did that come from?
That was my assumption.
Yeah,
right
only you went and did some research.
Right, which actually and I think the Dispatch did a fairly good job on the article. And it was cool. Like it was good that the police department released the body cam footage, partially because it was so fucking funny. But
that too.
But it didn't make it clear in the article, and for sure it wasn't clear from the video where this guy was fucking coming from. Plus, the use of the word dinks, man.
Who calls somebody a dink?
Uses dinks, you know?
Right, that's kind of dated. Like I haven't heard anybody called a dink in a long time.
Yeah, it reminds me of
dink dink.
There was this
dink, dink,
there was
dink,
this
dink,
old
dink.
video of these guys like souping up little like go-karts, and the guy was always like, I'm gonna get her dinked, and that's all I could think of when he was saying dinked. You dinks. but I mean, and it's okay if you want to use the word dinks because you don't want to say the word dicks, but obviously
that wasn't an issue for him, obviously.
It wasn't I don't think that swearing was an issue for him.
And fucking like belittling and talking shit to these guys and just being such a fucking puke. This is the kind of guy that you deal with every fucking night when you bounce.
Yeah.
This is like, that's some shit bouncers should have to, like, that's the shit the bouncers should have to put up with. That's normal. That's not shit the cops should have to put up with. Like, they're doing their fucking job. Go fuck off over there. Record all you want. But
do it from a safe distance.
Yes,
and stop
keep your fucking dog out of the road, you stupid son of a bitch.
And
the dog, it's not the dog's fault that you're a fucking jerk off.
Right. Like, actually, I don't even think that the police officers had any issue with him filming. The fact is he was filming on the and trying to stop them from doing what they were trying to do. But also,
he's a few feet away from all these fucking cars zooming by. He's not paying any attention to his dog on a fucking leash running
and
around.
Then he lets his fucking dog go. But again, like you said, the immediate assumption is because this guy attacked the police. Well, he's obviously a libtard. But no, he's actually like a whack job conservative who wants to defend fucking bitch ass Hall. And also did some shit about the lady who the school board president taught. That's in there too. He was supporting
a checkered
supporting the chick that thinks that evolution is just a theory. Sue Kern, yeah.
And he's I've found out a lot of stuff about him. Found out. I use that term loosely. I have been told a lot of shit by people that know him, because I posted a thing on Facebook, sticking up for these cops, because like I said, I know these dudes, and even if you don't know them, all you have to do is watch the video and you're like, this guy's a fucking idiot.
And the police officer, literally, it must be just an amazing parent. Because I would have taken that fucking brat over my knee and literally that would have been cut scene. Fucking guys on the side of the road, his bare ass is sticking out, and the cop is just fucking count it. He's count
whipping his ass with a belt, like he's still got all of his duty belt. He's still got all of his shit on there.
Fucking guns flying off.
Fuck.
The guy deserved a fucking bare ass bacon on the side of the road. I swear to God.
And then he made George Takei his page,
what?
George Takei.
Yeah, from Star Trek.
Yeah,
but he made what his page?
Oh, this guy, the video and shit, made it on George Takei's page.
No shit.
Snoop.
Huh.
The dog father. He actually was on this guy's side. Whatever, it's Snoop. He was high as giraffe pussy. Whatever.
Well, again.
But I mean, I don't think he knows the situation.
Of course not. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, from the outside, this looks like a guy who's extremely frustrated with the state of our current police force and wants to go out there and fight the good fight. And even if that were true, he was still doing it badly. Still a fucking idiot. That is not how you make change happen, by going out and harassing people while they're trying to do one of the hardest jobs there is to do, and currently, pretty much hands down, one of the hardest. I mean, I don't want to say the hardest job, because God, there are some people that do some fucking really hard jobs, and I'm not talking about raising children. I mean, that's easy. I'm talking about some really hard jobs. But being a police officer right now is just got to be one of the toughest things ever. I have two kids that training's been going fucking fantastic, by the way. Nice. We haven't really talked about that, but maybe the last time I mentioned it, I just started teaching out at the Takedown gym through Start BJJ. I'm still with Brock and everything, but we've allied with Takedown. It's fucking great. Not just is the place great, which it is great, but I am getting tons and tons of new students, and I am having so much fun, because I love to teach, but it gets frustrating when you show up to class and you have 10 guys and they're all fucking killers and none of them haven't seen everything. That's, it's like,
what are you going to teach us today?
Right. And the thing is like, that gets to be a real challenge, because I don't have an endless toolbox. I'm a solid teacher of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it's a basic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right. Once you get outside the fundamentals and a couple of favorites
I have a
really,
couple
like,
of tricks that are specific to me, but other than that, yeah, you want to learn bear and bull, you're barking up the wrong fucking tree if you come talk to me. And about 4 people in the just were like, I know exactly what you're talking about, bro. And everybody else is like, bear and who? But that's not my game. I can't teach it. So I don't have an endless amount of tricks. So it gets frustrating if all I'm doing is teaching people that are purple belts and above, which was common for my class. And now I have 10, 12 brand newbies that I get to like bring up, and taking somebody from 0 to 60 is something I'm good at. Taking them from 60 to 120, that's just a different thing. And there are people that are great at that.
That's harder than any goddamn.
There are some teachers that are fucking fantastic at that, but that are horrible at teaching. So it's really 2 ways. You either are good at teaching beginners, usually. Brock actually is the person I know that is really has the best of both worlds.
You know,
where he's super good with beginners, but he can take it. But no matter how advanced you are, there's shit that he can show you that you never.
That's true, because once you get to a certain level, you know, like, and you're not accustomed to like, and you haven't been like bringing newbies with you like along this whole ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes when you're training somebody, you can forget shit like, oh fuck, like that's common knowledge, you know, like
right. And even I definitely do that. But
you know, to a neophyte, they're like, huh? And you're like, oh fuck, sorry, let me back up.
Right, you're trying to teach.
That's a real struggle.
You're trying to teach something that is a very simple thing for anybody who's been doing it for 3 years. But it's not a simple thing for somebody who's never done it before. So you have to break it down.
I get that.
I like to say break it down Barney style. And then there are people who are phenomenal teachers. If you have a great fundamental, if you have a good base, man, they can take you from 60 to 120. But if you're not at 60, they got nothing for you. The person I can think of right off the top of my head is Dave Monet. Dave Monet, who was the middleweight champion of the UFC way long time ago. But he's known in the jiu-jitsu world as like a really high-level footlock guy. He's horrible with beginners. Just awful. But if you know what you're doing, he's got like the craziest, coolest tricks. But you know what? He doesn't know how to teach. He doesn't know how to teach fundamentals. It's just not part of his, you know. So it's just
so
interesting.
Long
or he just never did. The difference, I think, is if people evolved teaching, or they just got really good as a student and then started to teach. And I taught very early in my jiu-jitsu. I was working with kids class when I was even, you know, I don't even know if I was a blue belt by the time I was helping teach kids. So I don't know why the fuck I'm getting.
I want to see Cody teach more.
Here's my point. Cody's a great teacher,
and he's such a sponge.
A great teacher of like that. Every time Cody's in class and there's a new person in class, he goes right over to him and like. Also, one thing I love about Cody is he'll just grab whatever and stick it wherever he needs to. So he'll just go over and he'll just grab a foot and stick it where it's supposed to be and get that up by your butt there, and you know, and yeah, he's just this cute, gentle.
We've got to get him on. Well, you know, not too gentle. I mean,
yeah, okay.
Cody's this giant. So he's bounced with me for 12 years, like since he was a teenager, basically. And he's 6'4", probably 340 pounds, and crazy athletic. I maintain that if this guy would have gone to a good high school with a good football program, I think he would have been a D1 athlete. And he's just a sponge. When he took up jiu-jitsu, I mean, anything he takes up, you know, he's really good at learning, and he has the nice balance of like humility and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great student, and a great instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really want him to keep going with that, because I think it's just a real gift. Cody has a lot of gifts, but I think that is a really like a gift that not everyone has.
No.
That is a real.
And I can't wait until COVID is. I think that like
for fuck's sake,
who wouldn't say that? I can't wait till COVID is over. But one of the big frustrations of trying to do jiu-jitsu in COVID is that we can have very limited people in class, and we are limited with our classes right now because of other demands on that space. But once COVID's over, we're going to really be able to kind of blow the doors off of having a bunch of other classes, and specifically classes that are taught by people like Cody, or there's a pile of them that are great teachers. Yeah, but what Jake's great. He already started. He just started his Friday class. Jake is a guy who kind of does. He's pretty good at taking people from 0 to 60. But where he's really good is the guy. I always call him like the master of a million secrets. Like I was teaching the other day, and I had the back, and this is getting a little geeky, but I was talking about how you can't choke the armpit. So if your arm is if you're underneath somebody's armpit and you got their collar, you can't choke them. You can't choke the armpit. And I'm like, there's no way to choke the armpit. And then I looked over and I go, right, Jake? And he goes, there's a few tricks. And I was like, fuck. Okay, well, you can't. For you guys, just remember you can't choke the armpit until you get later. So it's funny. Okay, but this is what I wanted to say about jiu-jitsu. I came all the way around. I have 2 kids in there that are right now going to the police academy or working to be a cop. And I had a pretty good talk with those 2 about like how it feels. Like, how does it feel like doing this at this time? And they're like, yeah, it's really scary and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, I'm just super, super glad that you guys are doing jiu-jitsu and stick with it. And they're both, pretty young, athletic, they're going to do good. But I honestly think that going forward, having a degree in jiu-jitsu is going to be a thing that people are really going to require, or at least is going to be like, you say, oh, I graduated from this police academy and I'm a blue belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's going to be like, yes.
Man, I think that...
it should be required, but that's another...
I think that, somebody's going to school to be a cop, they should have to, come to me and I put you to work bouncing.
Not a bad idea.
I mean, you can get accustomed to have people fucking get in your face and you not being able to fuck them up. You know, I mean, it helps you deal with drunks. People are always like, God, you're so patient. You're so patient. I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this my whole fucking adult life, basically. Of course I'm patient. You can only fucking, you can't really beat up drunks anymore. You can't really fucking square off. You can't go hands on all the time.
It's not like the old days when Al at the Blue Ox would
just open the door with your fucking head and you're out in the street.
Smash people through the door. Yeah. I can't believe he never killed anybody.
Even when somebody needs it, you can't fucking do that shit anymore. And unfortunately, and I'm not saying it's cool to fucking beat up on drunks and shit, but every once in a while, hey, surprise, surprise, somebody fucking needs it.
So I had a buddy, Eric Reisen. I've brought him up not a dozen times. He's the guy who passed away. He was the helicopter pilot. But he was my original badass friend, and he did martial arts. We originally started doing jiu-jitsu together, but he was just a tough fucking guy. And he used to bounce at the iron rail just to beat the shit out of drunk people. And it was totally that. He totally went to work and was like, who am I going to fuck up tonight? Which seems like a bad thing, but I sure liked him. I remember one time we used to get together and train every Wednesday at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever it was. And I went over to his apartment and I'm this is weird. His door is open. His door of his apartment is just open. And I was like, Eric, whatever. I go in and he's laying in the floor in the living room covered in blood. And his knuckles are all bloody and everything like that. And I was like, he was going through a divorce. It was a rough time for him. But I'm like, so before I wake him up, I fucking checked for dead bodies, Right. I was like, what the fuck am I walking into? And I go over there and I start
do I just let him sleep until I get some shovels and stuff?
Right. Yeah, it was really crazy. And he's like, I don't know. It was nuts. Okay. Anything else we want to say about this douchebag?
Which douchebag? We know so many.
I know, but
no, Fred.
fuck you, McFuckerton.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Leave those guys alone. They're just doing their job. And you know, it was good to be able to say, like, it was good to come to the police's defense.
Right.
You know, for a change, instead of like, because we bag on them sometimes, but I mean, it's not like we bag on like law enforcement overall, and I mean, and it's not like we're only shitty people. And like I said, that whole like every cop is a bastard or whatever, like that whole deal, like those guys can go fuck themselves.
It's the absolute opposite of true.
Yeah,
I would go so far as to say almost all cops are good.
Yeah, I mean, and especially like when you're our age, I remember, and really these are still people. Like when I was a teenager and stuff like that, I mean, like I used to run into, we'd run into cops back in the day that were, probably good dudes overall, but they were also like good old boys, so they did what the fuck they wanted.
Well, I've talked about how much I disliked Sheriff Frank Ball. That guy was a fucking douchebag.
I remember sitting in the cop shop and they're just laughing and joking about it, like taking my statement, like, oh, stop. This is all the old recorders on cassette. Stop, back it up, like get it queued up, and like we can stay here and do this all night, like until they get the right statement out of you, I mean, I just, I got fucking like I just want to go to my cell and fucking go to sleep, But no, I already got my ass kicked with the handcuffs on. I got fucking blood and dirt and fucking chips of tooth in my fucking mouth.
And when we were kids.
Yeah.
And the truth is that it's not the way it is now.
No, these cops are much more fucking like professional now, I think. I mean,
very much more professional.
Because in the old days, like these guys, it was easier to become a cop. And a lot of these guys were just fucking like fat, lazy, good old boys, and that would fucking kick your ass if they feel like it. Those guys could do what the fuck they wanted. There was no cell phone cameras and shit. And even those guys, like, I don't really think that a lot of those guys were bad guys. No. They were just fucking fat, lazy rednecks,
The truth is, though, and I mean, the saying is like power corrupts, right?
Yeah.
And the more unchecked power you have, the more corruptible it is, right? I mean, that's just I think that is a just fact, or maybe a truth. And back when we were kids, police had a lot more power and it was a lot less checked.
Yes.
Today,
they're a lot more professional.
Cops
are a lot better. It's just that, like young millennials and shit are pussies. And,
and police do actually have less power today than they did back then. And
can get away with much less shit.
More checked. So we're going in the right direction.
And they actually have to do their jobs more.
Yeah. The ones that were really bad back in the day were like the sheriff's like posse kind of bullshit. And even to this day, even though I have a lot of respect for the sheriff's department, like I said, Josh Carter, my good buddy, he was a sheriff's deputy for years and years, and I think I think there's a lot more dysfunction in sheriff's departments than there are in police departments, as a general statement. And if you want some evidence of that, go listen to the fucking podcast In the Dark, which is the story of the Jacob Wetterling case. Holy shit, did the Stearns County Sheriff Department
that was back in the day.
That
was when we were kids.
Yeah, that was when we were kids. Yeah, I remember very, very well.
He was like our age.
Yeah.
That's cops are way better today than they were back then, and it just seems different because one, some shit hasn't changed, and the shit that has changed maybe hasn't changed enough in a lot of ways, and people are more fucking so delicate. I mean, if you don't think people are delicate nowadays, look at the fucking people that won't wear masks and shit like that for anything. Like, those motherfuckers are fragile.
Okay, but also you gotta realize that a big contributor to the way people feel about police officers right now is
media. I'm not going to say media is the enemy in all instances.
Well, I don't even say the media. I think, and social media, but really, it's the fact that we are all carrying around fucking cameras at all times, and so much more shit that nobody would even know about is getting publicized. Now that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that we are exposing.
No.
But my question is it an accurate representation of what the reality is? And again, I want to put a pin in it because I have a little bit of actual research I want to get. But there are a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. Like, have you heard about this fucking thing?
I have not. Should we? Do you want to take a break for a minute?
Sure. Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's pee
I'm going
in.
to turn that fucking thing off.
Yeah.
I have an ice machine that I rescued from Habitat for Humanity and fixed up.
You know, for our green room and stuff. You know,
It's-
like where
I'm actually trying to work on doing a little green room here. Yeah. So yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
Well, we had to get a little fan out for Kyle. His girth has made him a little on the warm side.
Warmer than usual, and I'm usually.
I was
warmer.
actually thinking about putting on a heavier sweatshirt, but so right before the break, we were talking about this, and apparently Kyle did know about it. But in the Brainerd Dispatch yesterday, my good friend Arlene Jones, who is the owner of the farm on St. Matthias, the place where we were just at for our dinner, has announced that she is going to run as a write-in candidate against the one and only County Commissioner Paul Coring. And how much do you know about Paul?
Not much. I know that he's a charming, friendly guy with a nice smile. I think he's the like everything that I've ever read makes me think he's a douchebag. I know he's the only gay Eskimo. It's actually a Tenacious D song.
That's
the only
very
gay
true.
Eskimo.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know him.
In
Tenacious
my
D.
tribe.
He might be the only gay Eskimo. Yeah, he's kind of a fabulously gay Republican.
Which is so. I mean, like, fucking good for you, man.
Yeah.
Like, but
Other than the fact that the politics of it get a little bit on the weird side.
yeah, you know, it's like being the only black Klansman or some shit. You know, like.
Speaking of that, dude, I watched season 1, episode 1 of the Chappelle Show the other night.
Fuck yeah.
Oh my God. It's on CBS All Access. It's so fucking bad. It's so, I'm like, we've gone so far backwards on what.
Not him though.
Well, what I'm saying, no, not Dave, but of course, this was on network television.
You couldn't get that. Like, that would be a
which
struggle.
in some ways you would think is progress, but in my opinion, it's the antithesis. Is
of
that,
progress,
is that the opposite?
Because, like, oh, we can no longer talk about this.
Right.
That's not progress.
But in this skit that he did about he was blind KK leader.
He was a blind man, and he was a rabid member of the KKK, but he did not realize that he was black.
And in this sketch, there are white people saying the N-word repeatedly on network television. It just couldn't happen today. And yet, that skit is A, fucking hilarious.
Oh.
B, poignant.
Yeah.
You know? And I can't believe they got the guy from Frontline to be on there.
At the end of the fucking skit, and he finds out that he's black, and he fucking leaves his wife because she's a race traitor.
That is not exactly what he said. So it's the guy from Frontline, and he's sitting there, and I'm not going to say exactly what he said because I just can't. But he's like, and then after, like, whatever, what's his name, filed for divorce from his wife. He cited the reason she was a lover. And I'm sitting there in bed. I was having a bad night. I just wasn't feeling good. I had a headache. And you know, it's one of those times, like, Dave Chappelle has saved my life many times. I think I told the story long ago about how I had watched $1 Million Baby and was about, you know, like crying myself to death, and I watched one of Dave Chappelle's stand-ups and was like, thank you, Dave Chappelle. But I was just feeling shitty, and I wanted to just watch something that I'd already seen and was just funny, and like, and I felt better. I laughed my ass off. Very funny. But yeah, it's just crazy how you just couldn't do that today, especially not on network television without, I mean, getting canceled in more ways than one.
Well, look at, I mean, they yanked Blazing Saddles from Netflix or whatever. You remember Blazing Saddles?
Yes, I remember. I loved Blazing Saddles.
Me too. That shit was hilarious. And that like unlike a lot of comedies, Blazing Saddles held up.
It did. I remember the last time I watched Blazing Saddles was shortly after I got a projector, like a projector. Yeah. So like to go up on a screen. And we at the Eclectic Cafe, and Tharg, we were going to have movie night, and Tharg's like, I got a really awesome copy, the cinematic, 72 whatever, a Blazing Saddle, so super wide screen, whatever, and we're down there, and we're watching it, and I'm like, I don't know if we can watch this here. Like, it was, because, boy.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
I said the sheriff is gone. What's a dazzling urbanite like yourself doing?
But the thing is that, like,
if you've never seen Blazing Saddles, do yourself a favor. Fuck. Actually, don't. If you've never seen it, like,
well, unless you're young. Unless you're young. I mean, if you're young,
that's true. If you're young, you have an excuse. And if you're like our age, you never saw it.
And then there's a ton of shows back in the day that like were, I don't know, pretty like had positive racial messages, but still wouldn't fly today. Like The Jerk,
Yeah.
I mean, The Jerk was.
I was born
a poor black child, and he's sitting there, and everybody's on the steps, and they're doing their thing, and he's sitting there trying to clap, and he's all out of time. Oh, honey. Yeah, some great stuff. Anyway, this has nothing to do with Paul Coring. But Paul Coring is a county commissioner. He is up for election this November. He's running unopposed, or has been running unopposed. And I don't know what put the bee in Arlene's bonnet, but she decided to throw her hat in the ring late in the game because she can't get on the ballot, and she's running as a fucking write-in candidate. And I got to tell you, that's almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to win as a write-in candidate.
But she'll win next time.
I think she'll win this time.
I hope she does. I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen.
I have...
What can I do? Not fucking much, but...
I don't think that there is a... I don't think that there's a... I was going to say woman, but actually I'm just going to go with person that I admire more and fear more. Like, Arlene is a fucking force of nature. And I just, like, a little bit about her resume. She owns the farm in St. Matthias. That's kind of maybe what she's most known for, which is a great place, 80-acre farm. They actually grow food there. They also do like a bunch of music stuff, and they also do like a
venue for weddings and stuff like that.
Super great place.
Beautiful.
One of my favorite places on earth. But that's just what she's kind of known for. What she really is one of the best fucking networkers I've ever met in my entire life. She was instrumental in starting an organization called Sprout, and Sprout is a local food hub. It's all now it started out at Farm of St. Matthias. It's now located in Little Falls. But what they did is they like realized on the farm that they weren't really capable of growing everything that they really wanted to grow, because they had like a CSA. CSA is collective. I don't actually even know what it stands for. But if you join,
Confederate States of America.
That's what it is. If you join a CSA, typically you buy a share from a farm, and whatever, you pay $10 a month or something, and they give you a portion of the stuff that they grow. And Arlene was like, this is cool, it's going all right, but we're really not that good at growing fucking potatoes. It's a lot of work, and we don't like doing it. We're not all that good at it. What we're really fucking good at is growing tomatoes, right? And they had these high tones, so they were like, maybe we should just focus on tomatoes. But fucking A, how do you can't do a CSA. What, are you going to give everybody 100 pounds of tomatoes a week? I mean, that ain't going to work. So her idea was to like network with other farmers and let them specialize.
Farm out that other work.
And they now have more than 130 farmers in a fucking huge area.
Is awesome.
And I don't know what this year brought because they don't. They weren't able to do farm to school because of the whole COVID thing. Restaurants were closed. I mean, this year was probably a nightmare. But I know last year, they were measuring their food in the tons, like how many tons of food they were moving through the CSA. It's a truly remarkable thing. And I just wanted to read one quick quote in this Dispatch article that I thought really kind of summed Arlene up. So it says something like, Jones says, "In farming, you develop a vital ability to solve problems resourcefully, creatively, and often with the advice of others." Whew, man, politician that wants to actually get the advice of others.
The advice of others?
That is unacceptable.
I mean, what is others? Like, you mean people outside yourself?
Well, it's best if they're not out. If you're going to get advice from people outside yourself, it's best if you get that advice still within your circle.
You mean, people in your group that are going to benefit from this, right?
From people. I intend to do the same if I am elected as Crow Wing County Commissioner. Leaning on innovation, resourcefulness, and thoughtfulness, consulting with those impacted by decisions made. Yeah, fucking beautiful. And so Arlene, like I said, one of the most powerful women, one of the most powerful people I've ever met in many, many ways. She's done so much work, but one of the things that like I've always really, really enjoyed about her is how much she hates silos, which is like a weird thing for a farmer, right? And they actually have a wonderful silo out of the farm savings list. But no, what I mean by that is like one of the things that they always rail against is how everybody is in their own little silo, you know, and like this person does this thing and this person does this thing and this person does this thing and they never communicate. And she's just always railing against that. And I just see her as having a real shot. So, I mean, I'm endorsing.
Yeah, if you want to go...
I don't hate Paul Coring, by the way. I know him fairly well. I've known him through the years.
I've just read a lot of shit that I'm like, whoa, you sound like an asshole. But when in person, I'm like, geez, you're a charming guy.
Yeah. I don't dislike him as a person. I disagree with much of his politics. One thing I that kind of bugs me about Paul is whenever I shake his hand, he goes like this. He tickles the inside of my hand. I'm like, you son of a bitch. But
I didn't know what that was until a few years back, and I went on Facebook. I'm like, what is this? Because somebody did that to me at work. I was like, what is this all about? Apparently, I was the only one that didn't know.
It's the universal gay symbol to I would like to have butt babies with you. Pretty sure I can't say that anymore. I don't know if you could ever say that, to be honest.
Butt babies?
Hey, do you know that song, Wet Ass Pussy?
Yeah, actually, if you listen really closely, I'm second violin in that.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
If you haven't heard it, it's the fucking worst song ever. Don't look it up. But I was like, last night somebody played it at the bar, and I was like, is there a comma in that? And somebody's like, what? I was like, is it wet ass pussy or is it wet, comma, ass pussy?
Right? I was wondering that too. I'm like, what is an ass pussy?
Yeah. Well, I know what an ass pussy is.
Or
it's a butthole. Because then Erin says to me, she goes, well, what's an ass pussy? And I said, it's a butthole. I mean, you want to see it? And she's like, oh my God, no.
Yes.
Also known as the brown flower.
Please tell me it's more like wet ass pussy.
Yeah.
Not wet ass pussy.
It is a remarkably horrible song. Like, I mean, obviously we are not like delicate snowflakes, but I don't think you should say that shit in public at 3:00 when there are old people sitting at a table. You should not go to the jukebox and fucking play Wet Ass Pussy at the loudest possible volume. But I am not judging you.
Well, I just got like 100 likes on that post that I made about it was just a meme that said that Cardi B writes music for chicks that say, "My kids are my life," and yet their mother has custody of them.
Yes.
But
That was that.
which I could only post now because
been
I'm married. Otherwise, I would have been just like ruining too many things for myself. If you know what I mean. Oh, I didn't mean you, baby. But
Yeah, so we're definitely endorsing Arlene Jones, and hopefully that doesn't do her more harm than good.
well, I was gonna say, like, we don't want to have her on the show, because if I were her, I would never fucking consent to come on this show.
I think she definitely would come on the show.
But I think that we should maybe do a supplemental where we go, like, do a quick interview with her or something at the farm or whatever.
Oh, definitely.
And and then that maybe we can put out there. Maybe maybe change our identities. Maybe we'll wear disguises so people don't know it's us. We can do something grown up for a minute.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that it actually is necessary. I think it would be nice to go out to the farm and talk to Arlene, specifically about like this run.
Yeah.
And be able to like kind of zoom in on that particular issue.
Yeah, something short that we can just throw out there
And
for
maybe
mass consumption.
Not like say her name and wet ass pussy in the same like sentence. But but one of the things
definitely leave hers out of it.
One of the things I fucking love about Arlene and Bob, her husband, is that they are the realest people I've ever met.
See, that's what I was like.
They're
when I first saw this, I'm like, if you want to
people.
vote for somebody that's fucking going in for all the right reasons, well, then this is your fucking candidate. Here's your chance. Put up or shut up.
She has another line in here, and I don't want to look for it because I hate like trying to reading shit. But she says like, if anybody who knows me, if I decide to do something, I'm in, all in. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I haven't had any really good feelings about anything political in a while, and I was like, "That's pretty."
Well, this is our
cool.
opportunity, just like our friend Michael Starry was talking about when he was on the show. Like you gotta start somewhere, man. You gotta pay attention to those local politics and shit.
Well,
and
so much more attention. I say this all the time, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is a teacher, and I'm not going to say her name either because I don't want to fucking make...
she's racist and she says things about scary black
people?
people?
So she was like talking about how all the blacks is... no, she was...
We were at a meeting, there was a tall lowercase t on fire at the meeting, and she happened to mention, yelling at me through her mask, hood, sorry.
What is lowercase t? Twat?
The lowercase t was on fire.
Oh, I gotcha. That's a cross. Burning cross.
Sorry about that.
Through her hood. Remember the South Park when Cartman went to Halloween as Hitler? And Chef was like, Cartman, you can't go. You can't be wearing
children.
that.
I can't do it, children.
And then he has him go as a ghost instead, and and he's totally got the.
That was an early episode.
First season, second season. Okay. I got lost.
There's another show that fucking pushes boundaries and stuff, but they still do their shit.
Did I talk about the documentary I watched about six days to air or something like that?
No.
Oh, okay. So have I told you that I'm starting to kind of like Dave Badeau?
Fucking, I don't even know you anymore.
I know. I was like, what's going on?
Actually, I was thinking about because we're still looking at that house over on 4th, and I'm like, man. So I was thinking about all the fucking great people, all the cool people, basically in the same neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, there's you, and then on the other side of you, there's Dave, and I'm like, and Auntie is that whole neighborhood. I'm like, fuck, there's some cool people in that neighborhood. But of course I thought, but I've always liked him.
I know you have. I just haven't. So I don't know. I don't want to go that far. It's not that I haven't liked Dave Badeau. It's that he kind of drives me fucking crazy. He has driven me crazy, and I find that talking to him is not that fucking fun. He has been in the past very one-minded about things. And all of a sudden, and this is what happens. This is why I don't like.
But you like me, and that sounds like me to a T.
No, I love you. That's totally different. Because we agree.
Yeah, because that one mind is one that we share.
That's it. That is it. But the more I've been talking to Dave, the more I have realized that he's actually kind of multidimensional, and we've had some really good conversations. We had a really interesting conversation about dirigibles the other day, because I fucking like dirigibles, and so does he. Odd. And if you don't know, Dave Bedeau is the mayor of Brainerd now, and I actually think mayorhood actually really suits him, and thus far, he's doing a pretty fucking good job. Okay, goddamn, I'm going all over the place. Where was I at with that? Talking to Dave, I kind of like him now.
South Park.
South Park.
Wet
He
ass
was
pussy.
talking. He was telling me that I should watch this documentary called 6 Days to Air, and it's on.
Thank God that's where this is going. I was afraid this was going back to wet ass pussy. You know?
No,
Like,
it's
man.
yeah, and Jesus fucks visitors, but it's on Netflix. It's not very long, 20 minutes long or something like that. It's really worth checking out. It's very good, but it's about them trying to put together a South Park episode in 6 days, and a good chunk of it is Matt and Trey trying to come up with an idea, and they're just sitting around. And everybody else in the office is just like, okay, we got to air on Sunday. When the fuck? And then they get him the shit at the last minute, and they put this fucking episode together, and it's a great episode. So I would definitely suggest checking it out.
That.
But one of the things I've always admired about South Park is that they don't give any fucks. And I've realized that is actually kind of a superpower, right?
Yes.
Because we are at a time where cancel culture is so powerful that so many people are afraid to say how they feel about something, because God forbid it doesn't fit the actual fucking party line, regardless of what side of the party you're on. Unfortunately, conservatives are way more fucking forgiving about not toting the party line, or really doing anything, including raping children, as long as you're willing to support the party. But that is not true of the other side, okay? The left seems to want to
That's fair.
cancel people. And if you can become uncancelable, it's a fucking superpower. And there is a cabal of the uncancelable. And I think that South Park is in that cabal. Joe Rogan is in that cabal. And it leads me to kind of my final 15 pages of notes. And another person that, and I mean, there's a bunch of them, including Jordan B. Peterson, who we've talked a little bit about, and someday are going to debate. I'm going to tell you how wrong you are. And Ben Shapiro, blah, 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 blah. There's quite a list of them.
Ben Shapiro. Boy.
Who I
seen
really,
anything about him lately?
Who I really like. No, I don't know if I have. Why?
All the stuff about his, the opposite of wet ass pussy. The thing about his wife, oh man.
I missed it completely.
Oh man.
The only thing that cracks me up, or that I know much, all I know about Ben Shapiro is the few episodes that I've listened to him on Joe Rogan. But he's a Jewish American, and he's being called a Nazi all the time. That's what cracks me up about him. But he is definitely a conservative.
Yeah.
But actually
he's a cunt.
I wouldn't say he's a cunt. I actually think he's a. I just disagree with him on some things, but I don't think he's a cunt. But anyway, go ahead. Okay, it doesn't matter. You're canceled.
Yes. No. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. In fact, I think it's. I don't like that people brought his sex life. Apparently, he's just his wife is not into it. And there's all these jokes now, and so she's a fuck. I forget what her job is, and it's important. It is germane to the conversation. I had no plans of bringing this up.
Well, maybe we can put a pin in it and look at it, because
yes. Well,
I'm interested in.
And if anyone wants to talk about Ben Shapiro's wife's dry pussy, by all means, you know, we could. We if you want to be a guest on the show and talk about how dry Ben Shapiro's wife's pussy is, you know, get a hold of us. Let us know.
And again, I don't know a ton about Ben Shapiro, but I find him. I disagree with many of his standpoints, but on the other hand, I like that he's willing to talk, at least to Joe, about stuff in a rational way, even though they disagree. And I don't know, I think I am so fucking sick of not being able to have, for anybody to have a difference of opinion, whether it's that everybody gets so uptight about that.
If you look at my Facebook, one thing that I enjoy on there, so because of me being who I am and my friends list being what it is, you'll see people just I'll bring something up. I'll post a meme or whatever, because it's very seldom that I post anything serious. And you'll see people fucking slinging poop and a lot of the really stupid fucking arguments from the other side, and people will just be hurling fucking turds on fire at each other, and then all of a sudden, occasionally, a rational conversation will break out.
Yeah,
now, sometimes
and
the
then you
turds
shut
are still
that
being
shit down,
right? With flaming turds. But sometimes, just imagining what it would look like a visual representation of it, like some battlefield and shit, and there's flaming poo just sailing overhead back and forth and shit, and you and 3 other people are just having a really fucking rational, productive conversation, and sometimes that happens, and it's awesome. But I don't want to go too far to push that either, because I like jackassery.
Yeah,
and I like
and I think the dumpster fire that is Facebook is not a bad place for that jackassery.
Yeah.
The problem is, and I think it's a real problem, it spills over into our daily lives. And I think that kind of
there's a
regular,
lot of people that
rational
don't like me because
people,
of shit on Facebook.
Oh, for sure.
They don't like me in real life because of Facebook. I'm
so
sucks to suck.
So there's a guy, Corey Villeneuve, was that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey Villeneuve. And man, he says some fucking horrendous shit on Facebook. And I just straight up don't like what he says on Facebook.
Well, some of it's kind of stupid, but some of it, we've talked about him before, but some of it's very thoughtful and...
Well, yeah, but he can be a fucking cock.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, he's he's a shit thrower sometimes, but yeah. many times. And so, I don't know him. But I don't like him. And then, I found out he's a fucking amazing woodworker. Really an amazing woodworker. Meta knows his wife and knows him, I guess, and she's showing me some of these pictures, and dude, I just want to have the guy on the fucking podcast. And I know I don't agree with him on a fucking pile of shit, but I absolutely think he's an amazing artisan. And I don't have to fucking like your politics to like your art. And guess what? I don't just want to talk about your art. I want to talk your fucking politics too. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's okay to not fucking agree with people.
Yeah. Well, and there's something else about that. All of a sudden people are really, everybody's like, man, wish it was like the good old days. The good old days,
There were never good old days.
No, they're absolutely not. There were
actually,
definitely
what? I
not.
want to
The only thing that made those old days good was that there was no social media, because people would people were still killing each other. People were fighting duels over fucking political disagreements and shit like that. Shit's always been this divisive. Don't and now everybody's oh, it's heading towards a civil war. Fucking the boogaloo, fucking all that. Shut up, you fucking pussy.
So
that
I
shit drives me nuts.
I actually I disagree with the statement of that there are no good old days. We're in the fucking good old days. I just finished listening to a book by Steven Pinker. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's a fucking he's like a statistician, essentially. Really good, and a linguist, an amazing linguist. Almost every time.
Would you say that he's a cunning linguist?
Does this get to sex somehow?
Just because I said cunning linguist?
Cunning linguist.
Anyway, keep going.
So I'm going to have to go back and try to figure out that joke. Almost every like intelligent book that I read starts out as a podcast. I like hear about this guy in a podcast or I hear an interview with him on a podcast and then I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going to go listen to his book. So the podcast that I was listening to is called People I Usually Admire and people I mostly admire, and it's cool, and it's just interview podcast or conversation podcast, and one of them was with this guy Steven Pinker, and he is like a they call him like a fucking like some kind of optimist, like a hyper optimist or something like that. But he's really a statistician, and he wrote a book called Enlightenment Now, and the book basically proves definitively that right now, right this second, we're living in the best time ever. It's never been better. Stop your fucking whining. And it was kind of hard to listen to because his interview was great, but the book, I was like, that fucking can't be true. That fucking can't. I mean, I must have said that fucking can't be true 1,000 times listening to this book. But guess what? It's fucking true. Like, that's the point. He is this amazing statistician who doesn't use numbers to manipulate your whatever. He, like, shows you that in every reasonable measure of quality of life, right now, today, humans have never had it better than they do right now at this second. And you want to take issue with it? I get it.
But that would mean that we're a bunch of whiny pussies.
And
that's hard to believe.
Like,
or is it?
If you turn the book over, which I didn't because I fucking listened to it, obviously. But one of the blurbs on the back is by Dan Carlin, who's one of the greatest historians of all time. And he says, this book proves that you're all a bunch of fucking pussies. Actually, I completely made up. There is no blurb.
No, on the back of the book, it's a picture of a butt-ass pussy.
So, coming around, uncancelable is what we were talking about.
Yes.
And do you know anything about Sam Harris?
Only what we touched on briefly yesterday.
Did we touch on it? Oh, because I mentioned him yesterday that
yes.
I was listening to this thing. So Sam Harris is another really, really intelligent guy. And he has a podcast called, it's called Making Sense with Sam Harris. And in that podcast, he basically usually sits down and has reasonable conversations with intelligent people. Okay? And they're kind of dry and kind of slow. Some of them are kind of boring and some of them are really interesting. And it's a very interesting podcast. Just here's a little like
it's weird
endorsement
that he's
for
never
it.
had a Republican on the show.
Oh no, he has all over the place. But here's an endorsement of him. I was talking to Tharg last night. He stopped by and I was out looking at his bike and I was telling him about. I said, "Hey, have you listened to Sam?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's really the only podcast I listen to." And I was like, "Well, fuck you." No, but yeah. So he only listens to Sam Harris and Dan Carlin. So he's like, Tharg's one of the smartest people I know.
Yeah.
He finds Sam Harris to be a very reasonable human. That's my endorsement. Okay. So anyway, Sam Harris, Making Sense. Yeah, the podcast is free. It's on all the platforms. But he has a very unique and interesting approach. He doesn't want to take any money. He doesn't want to take any money from any like advertisers because he feels like it may somehow, like distort what the integrity of his program. So what he decided to do was he decided to just put his podcasts out for free and then about halfway through stop them. And it's kind of an asshole thing to do and say, hey, that part was free, but if you want to hear the rest of the conversation, just come to my website, subscribe, and then you'll get the entirety. And it's $50 a year, so it's not unreasonable. Yeah. But on top of that, he says, and this is part of what I just love about him, is he says, but I don't ever want money to be a reason that somebody is not able to continue to listen to this conversation. So if you go to my website and you can't afford the subscription, just send me an email and let me know that you can't afford it, and I'll and I'll give you the subscription for free. No questions asked. No questions asked, and we do 100. We honor 100% of those requests. What? And the guy is actually like making a living doing this approach. It doesn't hurt that he's like one of the smartest motherfuckers, though. I mean, like literally so goddamn smart and so articulate and reasonable. Okay. So, Making Sense, Sam Harris, episode 207. The episode is called Can We Pull Back from the Brink? If you are at all interested, actually I don't give a fuck. It's like a commandment. You really need to go listen to this episode. All right? It's 100%, the whole thing is on there for free because he considers it a public service announcement.
Okay.
Making
Harris.
Sense, Sam Harris, episode 207. And it's Can We Pull Back from the Brink? Now, I'm going to kind of put out a little bit of his argument, but believe me, it is not. This is not the same. I am a fucking idiot spitballing here. But my numbers are right because I stole them from him. Okay? So the first thing I wanted to say is I saw this meme, and this wasn't in there, but I saw this meme the other day, and it sat wrong with me, and I couldn't quite figure out why. But the meme was telling a black man to respect the police so that they won't be shot is like telling a woman to dress properly so that she won't be raped.
Seen it.
How do you feel about it?
I don't know. Didn't really show up on my radar. I didn't share. I didn't feel the need to. So
I saw it, and I couldn't place my feelings about it, but it bugged the shit out of me. And I was chewing on it, and then when I started listening to this, I realized why. And I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, Kyle. How many people a year do you think are killed by police? And you can just venture guess. You don't need to know. Fatal interactions by police officers.
In the United States?
In the United States, yeah. We're only talking about the U.S.
5,000.
1,000.
1,000.
Yep. So it's a lot less than you thought, but 5,000 is not a bad guess. So there are about 50 million encounters between law enforcement and people every year. That's, traffic stops, whatever, tickets and so on and so forth. And there are about 10 million arrests every year. Okay? And these are general over the past a decade or so. So basically, your chances of being killed in a police interaction are about 1 in 10,000. Make sense? And that sounds like a lot, and that's probably too many, right?
Especially if you're black.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because that's very important, right? So out of the 1,000 deaths, my question would be about how many of them are unjustified. So 1,000 deaths a year. Police kill 1,000 deaths a year. How many of those deaths are unjustified? It's a really tough question to answer, right? And I don't have an answer, right? But I would think that we would all have to assume that the majority of those deaths are justified.
Sure.
One thing we do know is we know that only about 50 deaths a year are when an unarmed person is killed by a police officer. Okay? So 50 deaths a year that's not very many deaths a year.
Unless you're one of those people or their families.
Of course. That's the whole point. Exactly. Guess what? Terrorism doesn't really fucking kill people. It just doesn't. It's not a real thing. Statistically, you are more likely to be, raped by a monkey.
I was going to, wow.
I went right with raped by a monkey.
We're kind of in sync there. I was going to say butt fucked by a polar bear.
God damn it. Yeah. Should have went with polar bear. It's statistically not an actual thing. And the fucking crazy thing is what do they sell? Terrorism insurance. Because, if a fucking terrorist steals an airplane and runs the airplane into your house, your insurance don't cover that. So if you pay an extra $12 a month, your insurance will cover that. Well, guess what? That's the best fucking insurance scam of all time because Now, is it impossible to be killed by terrorists? No. But it's statistically impossible. So only 50 people a year are
If it's a suicide bomber, can you fucking like not pay that shit and call it an act of God?
I don't know.
That's an asshole question.
And there's a lot of things in that 1,000 people a year that are killed by police officers. Do you know how many people a year commit suicide by police?
Oh. Let's see. 200.
I have no idea. Good question, right? I have no idea how many people a year commit suicide by police. But you know what committing suicide by police is, right? Like, it's when you fucking, like, do something stupid. You
do a really fucking asshole cowardly thing and you force that motherfucker
and then you walk out with the gun and the police have to shoot you. That happens every year. That's a justifiable shooting. The guy comes out with a gun and then you end up having to shoot
that's
him.
the whole thing. That's why it works, because you put them in a fucking position to where they have to.
Guess how many people a year commit suicide by police who are black? It doesn't happen. Almost all suicide by police are white men. A lot of them have a background in law enforcement or other kind of. It's white men who own guns, which is a kind of a subset. So it's just kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Trying to get martyred and shit.
Another interesting thing that Sam brought up is that, so this is kind of the point, is that right now, after George Floyd and how fucking crazy everything has been and the riots, I think it is fair that this statement seems self-evident, right? That we are in an epidemic of racism between police and black men, and black people. Is that fair? Most people think that? I mean, that's what most, I don't want to say enlightened, but most people that aren't in the Trump camp feel that way? I don't know. I don't know if it's about racism or maybe it's classism. Maybe it's like a financial thing. I would like to see the data on how likely you are to be shot by the police if you're poor, versus if you are middle class, if you can find middle class people in this day and age to measure. And then again, what are your chances if you're rich? I don't even think you need that study, because the fact is it's almost it's going to be skewed very greatly toward the poor, but there's a really good reason for that. Because
the cops are in the hood and in the trailer park. They're not on Wall Street.
Kyle, that is I don't want to offend you, but that is a unreasoned argument. Let me ask you that question.
What costs more crime, street crime or white collar crime?
That's not really what causes more death, So, here's the thing: police don't police white collar crime, right? White collar crime. That's not how do you do that, right? So the question is,
I don't know. We've never tried.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I got a great song for that, but. Is it more likely that police are going to have a violent incident in a middle class neighborhood or a low class neighborhood?
But who is that on?
What do you mean?
I mean,
it's purely a fact.
I mean, we know where it's going to happen.
Right, it's going to be in the low class neighborhood, or in the low class neighborhood. But it's also because that's where the crime is happening. I mean, that's where the violent crime is going to be happening, not the white collar crime is going to be happening. That's just a fact of the way it is. So here, let me give you some more statistics.
Did it talk about the UCR and how we report crime and shit like that?
Yeah, he did such a good job, but I didn't.
Okay,
but you really do. I'm promising you, if you go and listen to how how he does it, because he cites all of his shit and all of that, but I can't, And he was very fair about stuff these are the statistics that whatever. But it's important. It's an important point that Okay, so where were we at? Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. This is right. Okay, so cops kill about 1,000 people a year. About 25% of that of the people that are killed by cops are black. Okay, about 50% of them are white. Okay, and then 25% left over are mixed different other things. Okay, obviously many of the people killed by cops are justified shootings. Out of that 1,000, it would be almost safe to say that most of them are justified shootings, because only 50 of the 1,000 are unarmed shootings. So the rest of them have some kind of weapon, or so on and so forth.
Or at least they do by the time the.
Well, there is that.
The second cop car gets there.
I am not arguing. I am not arguing in any way, shape, or form that there is not corruption and that there is not racism and that there is not. But black people only make up 13% of the population. So you can see there's a disparity there, right? 25% of the people that are shot by cops are black, and 13% of the population is black. So that difference should indicate that fucking cops are just shooting a lot of black people. A couple things kind of like put a monkey wrench in that. First of all, the percentage of black people who are shot by black and Hispanic cops are far greater than the number of black people who are shot by white cops. Essentially, that it is much more common for black and Hispanic cops to use lethal force on black and Hispanic people, and it does make sense in a lot of ways because and this is
sometimes they forget they're at their day job.
Okay, that's a joke, right? But that joke is rooted in truth, right? Because it's like, and this is not something that Sam had said, but as I was thinking about that, it's like you have a guy, you have a black man who comes up in, you know, where Ace grew up in Miami, and shitty ass projects in Miami, and like Ace did, gets out of there, but ends up deciding he wants to, and like Ace was saying, he had many family members who are cops. This kid ends up going through the academy, ends up becoming a cop, and now is policing in his neighborhood where he knows those motherfuckers are dangerous, right? So the likelihood of him using lethal violence compared to somebody who a white cop who came from a different neighborhood who's, you know, like it's like the likelihood is less because, and we are not saying, it would be a ridiculous thing to say that black cops are racist against black people, but they are more likely to kill them. That's a statistical fact. Why are they more likely to kill them? Because
they owe them money.
Because they understand that's dangerous. Black people are 6 times more likely to be killed by white people, or are 6 times more likely than to be murdered than white people are. 98% of those murders are inside their own culture. In some cities, that statistic is fucking ridiculous. It's like 12, 18 times more likely. What else was on here? I think I'm in summation here. So, okay. So the original meme was to tell a black man not to tell a black man to respect police, so that they don't get shot, is like telling a woman
to like follow orders or whatever, so they don't get shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, respect whatever. I don't remember. I can tell you what the exact quote was. Telling black men to respect the police so they won't be shot is like telling women to dress properly so they won't get raped. Now here's what I'm saying. I think we are facing an existential crisis right now. But I don't think that crisis is racism. And I am not saying that racism doesn't exist. It obviously exists. And there are obviously huge inequities between blacks, Latinos, whites, Asians, definitely. I do think that today we are in one of the greatest periods of ever. There's never been this much equality between races, between genders, between anything. And we can always point to horrible examples of that. Fucking women in Saudi Arabia are nowhere near as free as women in America, but they are more free in Saudi Arabia than they've ever been at any other point in time.
I think that's fair. Right now we're just, like there is racism. There's still, and people that are still like voting against, homosexuals' interests,
right?
Well, voting against minorities' interests.
Great example.
Voting against, and but we're dragging those fucking people. Republicans, we're dragging those fucking people with us, so that even they are not as as clearly
right.
They are not as bigoted,
100%,
as they used to be, by and large.
100%. It's a great example about homosexual rights. 10 years ago, almost all Republicans believed that marriage was strictly in the realm of a man and a woman, and that's just not true today. On that particular subject, you have to dig pretty deep and hard to find Republicans that say, yeah, we need to
rally behind Chocolate Jesus, and that got done.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that's huge progress. So I believe that the same thing is going to happen with race. But here's what this really boils down to. We have this crisis right now where everybody is perceiving these horrible and heinous actions of individual cops against.
Yeah, it's a perceived crisis. It's a fucking epidemic of our own making.
Absolutely a perceived crisis, and I would not have said that a week ago. I thought, Jesus fucking Christ, cops have got to stop shooting fucking black people.
But then we get back to
and yes, cops do need to stop shooting innocent black people, and they need to stop kneeling on their necks, and they need to stop doing that. But the numbers are so fucking small that that's not the issue. Why are we spending all this fucking energy trying to protest against racism when we should be spending our energy trying to do things that actually count, like reform our fucking police forces, which we absolutely can do. The problem is, the problem is, sorry, I'm on a rant here, Kyle, but fucking, I got to keep going. The problem is you can't reform.
Preach, brother.
You can't reform something once you make it your fucking enemy. And that's the problem that I think we're facing today, is that the left has now, is the word lionized, or does that mean make it good?
Demonized.
Demonized? Is lionized the good side? Okay, demonized. The left has demonized the police force, right? I don't even want to say the left, but the protesters have demonized the police force. And there's no two ways about that. The police have taken that personally. Like, watch the fucking footage of the way the protesters have been treated, and so on and so forth.
That's not, that whole us versus them mentality is not like, that isn't a reaction to like BLA and Antifa and stuff. That us versus them mentality is a big part of the problem that created these organizations.
I'd have to chew on that, because I don't know if I agree with you. Not to say that there wasn't an always us versus them. But I would say through most of my life, I believed that police officers, on the most part, were good and honorable and protectors, and so on and so forth.
We talked about like small town cops and how that's that's advantageous to them. That they're policing in a small community. I think in like a lot of those instances, I think what's frustrating for people is that whole like, okay, what are you first? Like, are you part of this club first, or are you protecting and serving first? Now,
So
one
what
of the
you're
things
talking
about
about
like a
is
small
like
town
the-
cop, it's like, okay, what are you first? Are you my neighbor first, or are you like, and that's it, one of the things about like the closing ranks and shit like that. Like if I say, man, you know, these guys that like Kelly Thomas, these motherfuckers beat Kelly Thomas to death. You know, that's like my pet fucking, you know, these guys, you know, beat Kelly Thomas to death. And then when like my friend who also happens to be a police officer, like starts sticking up for them, I'm like, you know, I'm like, are you like who are you first?
Right.
Like you, and I think one of the biggest issues, and it's always coming up, is the whole, you know, closing ranks and shit. Like like when good cops make excuses for fucking criminal behavior and shit.
100%.
That us versus them mentality has been around for way too fucking long. These
It
guys
has
need
been.
to fucking
And you're-
reprioritize.
I agree with you 100%. That is a huge part of the issue. I guess my disagreement, or I don't even know if we're disagreeing, is that we can't solve that issue if we are at war with them. And I understand the frustration and the rage and the pain. I really do, that people are so frustrated because this. But here's the thing. This is hard to fucking say, but this is simply an overreaction to a very tragic tragedy. But here's the problem. It's helping Trump. We are absolutely making it very difficult for anybody. The protests and the outrage and the riots are making it very difficult for anybody who's on the right side of left to be like, I think it's a fucking dangerous slope that we're riding.
I think that you are. I think that you're right. I think that this doesn't need to be like fucking open warfare in the streets right now, because, like, you know, and if we, you know, just to get down to brass tacks, you know, like the numbers illustrate that this is not some, you know, like yes, it's obviously a bigger deal, you know, when it's a part of your reality and you have to worry about being killed by the police, you know, like, okay, that's like, I get that, like that you're more that they would be more sensitive to that than you or I.
You know, and I don't want to get too much into the statistics, but there is an interesting fact that actually white men are more likely to be killed by police if they. Oh, what's the statistic? It's interesting, and you remember when Ace was on here and you were talking about how when you were the only black guy in the house. And everybody, you know, all your friends are black or whatever.
Oh,
you
the
go
only
to the
white
club.
guy, yeah.
Or you weren't the only black guy. That'd be weird. You were the only. I mean, you were wearing
I've been that
blackface and
too.
everything. But they were like that. You were like other people who give you respect because you're like, well, what that motherfucker do? Like to get that. And I think that's kind of the dynamic that works there, is that if a white person is going to end up. Oh, I don't know. I'm just gonna abandon ship on that because I actually don't know exactly what I was trying to say. But
yeah, I think that it doesn't need to be, you know, like, it doesn't need to be fucking like war in the streets right now. You know, cooler heads could prevail, and you wouldn't lose anything.
right. The problem is that like.
But let's see.
It is,
I mean,
pretty hard.
Is shit going to change, like, because of the riots, or is it going to, you know, because of all the rioting and stuff like that? Is stuff going to change for the better because of that shit? Because I see it happening a little bit. I heard that the Nisswa cops, for instance, that we talked about, like, I heard that their department is doing like kind of like a cultural sensitivity course or something like
Sure.
on their own.
Yeah.
Like, nobody told them to. So departments are doing departments are being proactive about this stuff. Now that shit might not happen necessarily if it wasn't for all the fucking riots and stuff like that. You know, so I mean, like maybe it's is it a force for good, or is it pushing people the other way? Because like you said, you mentioned Donald Trump. I was on over the last, what I'm seeing over the last couple months. People are referring, and this is fucking crazy. Now just listen to this and think about what I'm saying here. People are referring to Donald Trump as a law and order president.
No, yeah, 100%.
Dude,
we're
how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, well,
Everybody, all of his friends are fucking incarcerated, man. They're all
fuck it happened.
Dude, it's crazy.
We created an environment where a half of the fucking country is out rioting in the streets. So we have given him the fucking license to be the law and order president, and it's the only way.
He incites riots.
Oh, no two ways about it. You're not going to get an argument out of me. But the thing is it's because
racism and bigotry are
right.
You know,
but because we have given that fucking idiot the opportunity, this is the only way that could possibly happen, that bozo could become known as the law and order president. But it's the one thing that, because you know what the one thing that scares fucking white people? Yeah, are fucking riots. You know what I mean? And hey, guess what? I hate to break this to you. There's a lot of fucking white people in this country. And guess what? A lot of them are old. And guess what? A lot of them fuckers vote. So when we are creating this panic about an issue that is important, police brutality, racism in the police force, specifically in the police force. We're not talking about racism in general, but there's a ton of work to work on there, and there's a ton of work to work on racism in the police force. No two ways about it. But it is not the fucking epidemic that we are being led to believe that it is, and we're being led to believe that it's that by all the mainstream media, by the overwhelming pushing of this on Facebook, on all of the different media outlets, and when I actually took the chance to be told what the numbers were, I was like, oh, son of a bitch, this is the fucking vaping thing all over again. You know? I'm not minimizing, I probably am, but I'm not trying to minimize how fucking horrendous it would have to be the family or friend or loved one or whatever of somebody who dies in one of these police encounters. Fucking that's horrible. But people die of all sorts of fucking horrible shit all the fucking time. And this is a very small number of people. Now, you want to talk about real inequality? Let's talk about the prison industrial complex. Let's talk about how many black people are incarcerated. But why are we not rioting in the street out of that? Do you know how many fucking people a year die in the prison industrial complex? And you know what percentage of those fucking people? That is a place where we can actually show real, actual racism, systemic racism in our society.
Did you watch that documentary, 13th?
I didn't. No, I didn't. But I didn't.
You need to see. You should watch that this week.
I will.
You talk a lot about it talks a lot about the prison industrial complex.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and they talk a lot about 13th on it, and it gets referenced all the time. I know I got to watch it, but
and and it's true. And I mentioned like the UCR, Uniform Crime Reports. There's some really key fundamental problems with the way that we report crime. And the way that we keep track of it, and what we do with that information.
Right.
Now, if you, look at, I'm just going to use this for an example. Now, if you hire, if you've got let's say you've got 40 cops in your department,
mm-hmm.
and you hire 10 more cops, and all of a sudden you're arresting more people, does that mean you've got a crime wave on your hands?
No,
I know. Because it does to the fucking FBI, because it does on the UCR and shit.
Yeah, and that was a big thing in New York City back in the, what was it, the 70s when crime was so bad, and they were trying to clean up New York City. And it actually, I don't know the story well enough to retell it, but there was literally one guy who kind of like came up with a system that like really changed New York City and it much improved. But that system was not intended to stay in place forever because it makes cops need to continue to increase their
ramp it up.
They have to continually ramp it up, or else they are like showing a so people get cited for fucking all sorts of crazy shit in New York City because they have to like. I don't know. I don't want to talk too far out of school, but it's a very interesting subject. But that's the same kind of thing. Yes, there's definitely that. There's definitely
and there's but
like this is one thing we do know.
Is there more crime in the hood because there are because for some reason these people are inherently criminal? Or is it poverty? Well, I think that's a no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer. Right.
If you put more cops on the street in this neighborhood, are you going to have more arrests? Yeah. Does that make these people more criminal? No. Well, that means that you've got more criminal or more people watching.
Okay. However, if you have a economically depressed area in a city where that's the crime hotspot, it's happening all over the place. Now, if you have a larger police presence, you'll get more arrests. That's true. But it will also become safer, and that is also true. And when you go to communities that are economically depressed, and the people that are not the criminals absolutely want a strong police presence because they don't want their doors kicked in and they don't want to be killed, because it is far more dangerous and far more likely that if you are a young black man living in inner city Chicago, that you are going to be killed by another young black man than it is even possible that you're going to be killed by the police. That is just a truth.
Basically, your chances of getting killed by everybody are better.
Yes. Yes.
Just being poor increases your chances of being killed.
Yes.
Being black increases your chances of being killed. But I mentioned this is the last thing I'm going to say.
Well, I don't know that being black increases your chance of being killed. I mean, it increases the likelihood that you're poor.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not that people of color in a depressed neighborhood are more likely to be killed because they're black. They're more likely to be killed because they're in a depressed neighborhood and that's where they live, in that neighborhood. So all of the shit. So I feel like I said, hey, look, stop freaking out about racist cops, because that's not really the problem, and that's actually exactly what I said. But that doesn't mean we don't need to freak out about racism.
Matt says, "Relax, it's not so bad."
Well, absolutely. Well, stop giving fucking Trump and the rest of those fucking idiots the leverage that they need to give him 4 more years. I think that is an fuck that word, a really bad thing. We don't want that to happen, and I don't think these protests, and I don't think I think that this. I also think, and this wasn't covered in the Sam Harris, but I think that the right. So if we're the Dems and all that, they're the deep state. What's the right wing cabal that tries to puppet master bullshit?
I don't think that they are sophisticated enough.
Oh no, for sure, dude. Don't you remember in L.A. the fucking bricks being left out on the street in random spots to help escalate the riots? No, it's definitely happened, and I think that the right powers that be realize that this shit helps him, and are part of the reason that they keep fucking
the law and
order.
He's the law and order guy,
just like John fucking Wayne.
Everybody you've never there's never been a more criminal presence in the administration, and I'm just saying that because of all the how many of them have been arrested already and shit. His friends have been arrested. He's been charged with all kinds of shit. It's not like it's something. And that's not something that like realistic people are going to sit and argue with you. Like only the people that are in his fucking cult will be like, well, no, that's because blah blah blah.
Well,
like,
how could you?
whatever.
I mean, he's more people in his cabinet indicted than anybody. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous.
It's fucking, but now he's the law and order guy.
Well,
like
right.
that's so fucking stupid.
But Kyle,
and you have to be scared, like you said, scared old people.
There is no, there is nothing you can say that is worse than he is.
Yeah.
But the problem is that people are afraid, and afraid people, and they and kind of with right.
Fear makes you do irrational shit. It's
right.
the way fear works.
I have heard liberals calling for civil war. Like if there was some fucking guy on I can't remember who it was, but he was said on TV, like some pundit was saying that if we see one more incident of cop violence against a black man, that's it. We're gonna have civil war. And it was like it wasn't like a cautionary thing. It was like a warning to the police. You better not fucking. So it's just very, I don't know. It's fucking scary. But I just didn't realize. Like I thought without knowing anything, because it's the right visceral gut reaction. You're absolutely right to think, man, what happened to George Floyd was absolutely awful, and it was racially motivated, and that we should never let that happen again. 100%. And also, it's reasonable to think, because that fucking cop did that to George Floyd, there are probably a lot of other cops that are assholes like him, all scattered throughout the nation. Boom. You're also right. There probably are. But where we're wrong is that what we're wrong about is the scale. And human beings are horrible at figuring out scale. Great example. Guess what? Mass shootings are not a big deal. They just don't kill very many people. We think we have a fucking mass shooting epidemic right now that we have for years. But the truth is, we don't. The numbers don't bear that out. Yes, there have been mass shootings in the past, 20 years. But statistically, the likelihood of there being mass shootings, it's not something we should be panicked about. Now, does that mean we shouldn't do anything about it? Well, no, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do anything about it. We definitely should do something about it. Any mass shootings, too many mass shootings. Any man killed in the street by police is too many people killed in the street by police, especially unarmed innocent men. That said, we're fighting the wrong fight.
Don't
right?
panic. Don't panic. Like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Mass shootings.
Don't panic.
Police brutality. Racist police brutality. The vaping epidemic that's killing people left and right. Almost as many people as sharks, but not quite. What else? There's so many of them that we freak the fuck out about, but the fact is they're not really the thing. But we freak the fuck out about the wrong fucking things. And you know what? The problem is that there are actual real inequities and actual real things that we should be fucking freaking out about.
The environment. Want to freak out about something?
Actually, no, not that big of a deal either. God, don't read this fucking book. But that's another thing. Climate change, even though absolutely real, 100% accident.
I'm more concerned about pollution than I am with climate change. But I mean, not that I'm not concerned about climate change.
However, it's getting better. It actually is getting better. And we have some really good solutions. Just read this fucking. I've read and I've listened to too many goddamn things. Now I got a headache. Okay. I just want to plug this thing one more time for you guys. If any of you, Shelley, are still there, again, it's Making Sense by Sam Harris. And I butchered this. I 100% butchered this. I did not make this argument. But please go listen to his argument because it is so good. And it's and not only, and I'm not telling you to do it so that you think that racism in police is not a big deal. I want you to go listen to it so you can realize that we're not putting our energy toward the right things. And God damn it, we're making it easier for Trump to get reelected, and I think that's a scary fucking thing.
Absolutely.
That is all I have.
All right.
I haven't had a rant like that since fucking.
Oh, I like it. It's
when did I
nice.
get all?
It's
When
refreshing.
did I get all zipped up before or something?
Usually I go on like I'll have like a mini rant, but it's usually just me like stumbling over calling people cousin fucker.
Oh, no! Last time I got that heated was about universal healthcare.
Huh.
Yeah, I yelled at you for like a solid 2 hours that time. And you didn't even disagree with me on anything.
No.
But I still fucking yelled at you.
So on a lighter note, I didn't want. We shouldn't even talk about race anymore. No, but Cthulhu County on HBO.
Oh.
It's like a kind of a genre bender series.
Cthulhu, like the god.
H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Cthulhu County. I don't want to ruin anything. It's like 3 or 4 episodes into the show. I'm just going to say that, it's mostly a horror series, but it follows this black veteran back from was it the First World War? First World War, yeah. Yeah, in that show. And the only reason I mentioned this because I was thinking about how in that show, like, every white character that they've introduced so far, villain. Like, it's, and I'm like, man, ease up, dude. I'm watching this fucking show. But then again, I'm like, well, it's also like fucking, like after the First World War, let me think about what the climate was like in the country. Okay, like even if you didn't mean to be a villain,
Doesn't have anything to do with Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
It's on HBO.
There's some HBO, some H.P. Lovecraft tie-ins and stuff like that. It's not. They don't like. It's not exclusively about H.P. Lovecraft stories, but yeah. I'd still recommend it.
Huh.
It's still fun. I'd still.
Did you get a chance to watch any of The Boys season 2?
Got caught up last night.
You did? Oh, good. I want to talk about that. If you haven't checked out The Boys season 1, it's it's a Amazon Prime original.
Basically, it's like if it's what the world would what superheroes would be like if they were real. Like
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
what would the it's man, I'm telling you. Did I mention him when we talked about great bad guys? Did I mention Homelander? Because
What are you talking about? He's a hero.
Yeah, I should have because goddamn,
Yeah,
that character is awesome.
fucking horrible.
Yeah, just the
And
fucking
so many weird little freaky things, like his milk obsession and
Yeah.
shit is just
the
like
quirky, weird,
very weird.
fucking yeah.
Yeah, I really just checked it out. I loved season 1. I burned through it super duper quick, and then was like, oh my god, it's going to be like 7 years till the next season comes out.
And I like Carl Urban, even though I don't really love his character.
Which one's that?
That's Butcher Bill.
Oh, you don't really like his character? Yeah. I like the villains maybe more than I like the heroes, but it's
Yeah.
it's just, but it's really well done. But there's some just like really fucking crazy shit that goes on in there.
Yeah.
The one guy that I really like is the guy who's like the president of Vox.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember his
Who's
name.
in everything? He's in The Mandalorian.
He was, in The Mandalorian. He had a really good character in Breaking Bad, but I know you didn't like that. But he was awesome in there. So
Yeah, he's been in a lot of shit. I should learn that guy's name sooner or later.
yeah,
Yeah.
man,
But yeah.
awesome.
All right.
Anything else you got?
No. Let's wrap it up. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. Well, don't eat me. All right. Sounds good. I don't know what we have on the horizon.
Next time you see me, I'll be wearing a cast, or I'll be wearing a sling.
Might be a little bit before we're able to get back together, but
we should try to
out.
get. We should really try to get out to the farm.
Yeah, we should. I'll get a hold of Arlene and see if that's cool.
Yeah, just like in a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, because we don't have much time.
Yeah,
like November's like right around the corner.
for sure.
So, awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
We'll put all of our influence in her corner both of you.
Yeah, like maybe Eric and Ron Barron, so it's probably the only two who could even vote for her. All right, we love you guys.
Sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a person to save all we've made. It's just your average everyday superpower superhero, steady flying through the sky, and all trying to save people. Faster than a bullet, tougher than a tank, running like a train, nothing in his way. He's come to save the day from the evildoers and the villains filling up the street. The shepherd has stopped the fox from killing all the sheep. A million on his beat, he watches the whole city as it sleeps. A guardian to keep the peace on the streets, like the newspaper reads a hero arises, a new hope for a people in crisis. Evil is hiding, crime is down, something like 25%. That ain't no minor step. He won't face the spotlight though, he keeps it humble, silently watching over his concrete jungle. A hero. Everybody have no fear, who we're waiting for is finally here to do what he needs to do and make the city safe enough for me and you. Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's the one who's gonna save us. Don't run, don't hide, he's on our side. It was a dark night, it was the perfect crime, making the getaway. He thought he heard a guy behind him, and suddenly he's on the ground lying, his hands tied and a man standing beside him. Well, aren't you the hero? Arrived to the emergency, come on man, shit, I stole 100 from a Burger King. The city's safer, I suppose. Well, as long as I got caught, I want you to know. Listen, I ain't the bad guy, I'm just hungry, and minimum wage is not enough in this country. If you wanna fight crime, but you don't go for the roots, well, you can win every battle, but all in all you lose. You see, crime comes from poverty, lack of opportunity, and poverty is policy in too many communities. And yeah, you're proud of all the thieves you stop, but dog, all the real thieves already made it to the top. And what you need to know, the real evil, yo, are politicians and CEOs. And you can catch every petty criminal like me, but can you put food on the table of a starving family? Can you get my job back at the factory, or health care for my mama's sickness that she's battling? War, poverty, environmental catastrophe, those are the crimes. Why the hell you after me? Everybody have no fear, who we're waiting for is finally here to do what he needs to do and make the city safe enough for me and you. Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's the one who's gonna save us. Don't run, don't hide, he's on our side. A month passed and the cab disappeared, and the people started asking what's happening here. Ski master down, they proceed with caution, and now crime is up and the streets is talking. Did he leave his office? Is he gone for good? Did he finally decide he did all he could? Until one day, middle of autumn, leaves fall, and the hero came back for a press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the city, I'm sorry for my absence, really I apologize. But all this time I had to do some thinking about the crimes that I did and didn't authorize. Just call this a change of heart, or better yet a change of perspective. See, I'ma change directions, and I know fighting crime is hectic, but I see now the police don't fight the real evil, they protect it. And I'm sick of pretending that only poor people have bad intentions. Yes, I fight crime and I intend to beat it, cause I will fight the conditions that created it and feed it. And there's some evil here, I can feel it, and I'm not gonna rest till it's defeated, believe it. So if you'll excuse me, I gotta fly out. See, I got some business at the White House.